There we go. Now we'll get started. Material information presentation is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice or recommendations. Any and all statements made on this channel are the sole opinions of Options Millionaire channel and should not be taken as financial advice. No financial decision should be made on the materials shown here on this channel. Trading futures, equities, and options involves another risk of loss that is not suitable for all investors. Any investor could potentially lose all or more of the initial investment. Risk capital is money that should be lost without jeopardizing one financial security nor lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient capital should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Trading is one of the riskiest and most difficult tasks one can undertake and must be approached with extreme caution. Do not invest any money you can't afford to lose. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Enough of that. So what do we have here? Bank earnings tomorrow. We just had a 15-minute top wick and a three candle pattern reversal. Attempted hammer follow-up with an ES coming on down here. With the first sign of a little bit of selling here in the past hour or so. Nice little move down. Nice little move down. 448.45 on S&P, or for the SPY, ES is 45.3175. Just holding the morning high. The morning high is 45.3175, which is also right about here at R1. R1 is the main pivot. We've got this iceberg chasing lower, which makes it seem that we're going to put another couple of points down and test 45.30. Overall, very, very, very light day today in terms of volume, in terms of liquidity, in terms of price action. We have a couple of outlier moves, mainly Google. Google's really been the only one to move once the session has started. There was a lot of pop-ups during the overnight action, but Google is the only one has been able to actually do something. They're up 4.4% during the session. The S&P has pretty much been chopping at a little 4 or 5 point range. We had just had an attempted move up to 45.36, and then a quick rejection on down to 45.30. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Pretty much a light day today. Banks are tomorrow, so I've been watching XLF, JP Morgan. JP Morgan had a beautiful bounce off 147.80 coming up here. And that is it. They are on watch for tomorrow morning as they report before the bell tomorrow. And another bottom wick here off of this R1 level. We can't push it down more than a couple of pennies. So although there's light volume, there is virtually no sellers in this market whatsoever, just a little profit taking. And same old thing we've been dealing with since March is that every single sell is incredibly short-lived. So yeah, Apple's green coming back up. Amazon is green coming up. The VIX rocketed off 1320 up to 1350, and XLF is not moving. NASDAQ is rocketing. Yeah, they just put another high in up to 15,650. They're up 1.3% on the day, probably because of Google. Google's up almost 5%. It's hard to beat a stock that's up 5%. So yeah. Let's take a look here at the liquidity on Bookmap. 45.40, which has come on this morning. They have had stuff up to 45.55. They also have this big guy way up top, 46.20, which has been on since yesterday. Aside from that, that is all. They've got a couple of onesies and twosies down south. Liquidity overall today is quite light. 45.40 is the only stuff that's close that's even worth a dang. They've got 45.15 below, but that's still 20 points out, which on a day like today, 20 points might as well be 100 until liquidity hits the tape. $45.32, you see this, we're just holding barely on top of R1. I'm going to show you all the 15-minute chart right here just to kind of see what we're looking at. We had a pop back up with SPY to 448.92 with increased volume. They inversed hammered, came on down, dumped it back down to R1, immediately hammered. Follow-on candle is another red, immediately hammered back up. So whatever little bit of movement we have from the downside, the buyers are still here. The only way we're looking for a move back down is if we have volume to bring us back down. So far, this is a very similar setup to yesterday where we started to reject the highs. We kind of consolidated for a little bit, and then volume hit, and we dumped on down big time before, obviously, once again, reversing back up. That's been the name of the game since March, is every single sell immediately bought back up. Until we have the weekly volume start to say sellers are earning the tape, that's the name of the game, is to buy every dip, buy every single dip, even no matter how small. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here through R1. Look for an increase of volume. So far, it is still holding this 3-point reversal with increased volume on the 15-minute. I'll try to keep y'all entertained on a incredibly slow day. This is probably the slowest non-holiday day we've had this entire year. It's just been incredibly tight, incredibly slow, incredibly light liquidity, which is why I have not taken a trade today, except for managing my call credit spread long leg. Yeah, buddy. A little bit more red, 45, 30, 75 coming back off. $45.30. DXY is below 100. Yeah. So there's more and more talk about that happening, is that the DXY is getting pummeled. The dollar is getting pummeled. Straight down since July, let's see, was that? July 5th, the dollar's been straight down every day. They're just absolutely rolling the dollar here. 45.30 on ES. Still, SPY is coming off just a touch, which is nice. So keep an eye. I'm saying that the financial sector is making some moves into tomorrow's event, which is financial. Oh, it's the financial news. And once again, the 15-minute reversal. Beautiful. Beautiful. Coming on down here. Still very slow movement. All right. $45.30 coming down, $45.15, $20. We have XLF rounding back over. Decent little candle there on Microsoft coming on down. Feels like a gold star when it says beautiful. I'm going to already move. Nice. Well, that right there is a 15-minute textbook reversal, and we'll see how long it holds. But right now, we've got the move up, a very weak move up. So that's the first sign of weakness, is that we have this move right here. Actually, that's right there. Those three candles are a very weak move up. Why? Wick, wick, wick. Nothing but wicks. Even with increased volume here, we still have nothing but wicks. And then, of course, this candle right here, we have an inverse hammer right there with a spike in volume, the largest candle since 10:30, and then immediately we have weakness come after that. The buyers attempted to defend, it failed, go lower, weakness abounds. 15-minute chart here, very difficult to compete with that. And now here we come rolling back off. Excellent. Nice move down there, even more. 15, 45, 30, 45, 30. Probably be bought up as always. Well, it's fine. We'll just wait for the volume if that happens. Right back inside the range. Still coming on back off. Beautiful. Beautiful. Fantastic opportunity to short after a pretty slow day. Right when we hop on, we get that nice little 15-minute signal. Right back off. 15 minutes been treating me well today, man. We have JP Morgan bounce earlier this morning. We've got this reversal here after no trading for the past hour. Very untradeable action. We finally get a good directional move. If DXY is selling off, what does big money think is going to happen tomorrow? Or what are they hedging for? Well, before I answer that question, what does the dollar typically look for? What do we typically look for in the dollar in terms of supply and demand? Because everything boils down to simply supply and demand, especially with the DXY, which people don't actually think there's a demand for the dollar. It's like, all right, well, you use the dollar to go buy stuff, right? Well, from a global perspective, there is a demand for the dollar. And you have to think about what the dollar actually means as the big dog on campus. Everybody wants the dollar because the dollar services debt. The dollar services their government. The dollar services global militaries. So when you start to see a potential weakness in the dollar, we have to look for weaknesses in the economy. Why would there'd be a weakness for the dollar. Why would everything be selling off here? Is it probably because people are going to start devaluing the dollar, whether because credit risks, whether because they have the strength in the banks. And right now, going into, which is very good, it's a very good question, going into the banks on Friday, they're saying that, all right, well, maybe they're not necessarily going to have as good of earnings as everyone thinks. And that's my interpretation of it, because the dollar's been straight down. If you go back and look, I mean, this is the strongest sell-off the dollar has had. Jeez Louise, I mean, I'm looking back now, since coronavirus, which is it's a little concerning. So this is the strongest sell-off the dollar has faced since coronavirus, or the recovery from coronavirus, I should say. So very interesting what's happening here on the DXY. SPY is coming back off just a touch, but bouncing. It's all about supply and demand. If you could track the supply and demand, you could track the movement on an exchange like that. All right, so there you go. Bought right back up, right? Right back up to the high of the day. Now, personally, right now, what I'm tracking is I've got the morning high, which is right here, and I've got the low right there. I usually set this level as green, or as blue. So you see, it's been a pretty tight day. You know, we opened up, came back down, bounced, put the high in, consolidated, and now we're just kind of oscillating around this, which is also R1. The major pivot stuff is down below, so that's why right now the ball is in the bulls' courts. The bulls are free to roam about the cabin here. The seatbelt sign is off. The turbulence is free. They can take this thing on up to 45.80 with very little effort. All the historical pivots are out. All the major volume pivot points are out. All liquidity is higher to 45.80 to 46.20. Everything is higher, so it's all in the bulls' court. And if they fail to do this, that just shows you that possibly the buyers are going to be stepping out of the market. But it's all in our hands, and tomorrow will be the tell. All the green on back up. Stacking liquidity 45.30. All right. 45.30 up top. Let's take a look over here. Oil still hanging out at 76. I'm going to take a peek around the market here. Wow. Another rally day by BABA. Absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. So BABA accumulated now broke out through 93, and they're headed well into 100. I'm watching that one run right away from me. BNYND is 1738 sideways. Coke is right there. Other than that, there's a couple of outlier moves today. Only in the big caps we have one outlier move. But there's a ton of small caps that are just running away. The move in crypto-related names has been pretty wild. Yeah, I saw that. After all this news came out, with the exchanges in the past couple of months with crypto, they have made a nice recovery back up. I mean, seeing Bitcoin back over 30,000. Started looking a little hairy there for a second. If you would have bought Bitcoin back in January, you would have doubled your money. 100% gain on Bitcoin since January. Nearly 100%, not quite. got right here down to 1565. 45.33 on back up. Do you generally just move out to a longer time frame when you see weird price action? If I need clarity, I go to longer time frame. If things are moving, kind of predictably or momentous, then yeah, you could use the 5-minute pretty easily. But if when I need clarity, I go at least to the 15, if not longer. And obviously, if you want to identify trend, you go out to the 120 and higher. I mean, for example, now switch over to the 4-hour chart and go look at Nasdaq. Go look at tech right now, and tell me what you see on the 4-hour chart or the 240-minute chart. Just type in 240, enter. What's your target for Nasdaq the next couple of weeks? 18,000, 19,000, who knows? No, I'm just kidding. Well, I talked about Nasdaq this morning. Let me go look at my notes. So Nasdaq has already taken out their pivot. Yesterday was a breach day. Today was an absolute blow off top, 1.34%. Every single day is gap up for Nasdaq, aside from, I think they've only had like 8 red days since February. It's like something that's crazy. So next stop for them is, where's that next stop at? Right there. 15,900. 15,900 is their next stop. And really that is a light one, because now what Nasdaq has done is they've wiped out all major pivots. They've wiped out resistance. They've wiped out high volume nodes. They've taken out any kind of prior selling point. So there's nothing left except all-time highs. From a charting perspective, there's nothing left except all-time highs. So we still have 2 weeks left in July. We typically have a little bit of bullishness into the middle of August before we start any kind of retracement. But there's nothing stopping that, which is crazy to think about. But they've done it. And the next pivot on top is about 15.9. Bookmap question: is liquidity above price always sell orders and liquidity below price always buy orders? Not always. I typically, it's not always like that. I mean, you could think like that. That's sure. I mean, that's the natural way to think, because of obviously you want to sell high and buy low. But for me, I try not to really focus on that particularly. I try to focus on just open liquidity in general. And that usually does well in telling the tale. It's all about filling the orders, whether it be a sell to close, sell to open, buy to close, buy to open. Because if you start going down the road of strategy, you're going to start thinking, well, this could be doing this, that could be a hedge, that could be this. And to me, I just try to think of open managed liquidity, because that equals interest. Big dudes are not going to put a crap ton of liquidity in the market if there's not really a chance of it filling. Nor are they going to try to manipulate the market in their favor if they're not having those big high interest items on the tape. So I try to tend to look at managed liquidity, not just open, but open and managed liquidity as magnets of sorts, which is why Bookmap is so useful to me, because I could place a level on that's a particular interest in size, and then if I watch that thing be managed, if I watched it maintain a few days, then I could look for that thing to move. Today was 44.20 on the ES. And we ate right through that. Or yesterday, 48.20. 42.80. Holy crap. I'm all over the place. 44.80 was the big dog level. And then, of course, they put some up at 45.20, and we transacted through that. But that 44.80 was the big level all throughout the week, and it's been on there for a couple of days. $15,651. $45. Looking around here. Hammered back up, right back to R1. We're back to all-time highs in 1 week. Yep. It's just what the absurdity of tech is that every day there's at least one stock that's over 3%. Yesterday we had one, today we had one. It's just phenomenal that the tech stocks are just exploding to that degree. I had 3 Bitcoin at 3,000, sold them for $500 gain. I feel you. I bought Bitcoin early 2020, and I sold it for a couple $1,000s instead of riding it all the way up to 60,000. I bought Ethereum at 1,200 and sold that for like 1,700. All right, so that there is the opposite signal. We have an attempted breakdown, bought back up, but we still need a good volume. We have a slight increase here. If we saw a spike in volume to a probably second highest candle of the day, that would be sentiment to go long here. Other than that, we need to look. Pretty mundane day. NASDAQ is trying to fill higher liquidity to 662. They've got a little bit coming on back up at 700, which is 45 points higher. That's a chip shot for them. I know this isn't a crypto crowd, but Bitcoin is a semi-predictable cycle. Got to let it play out. Well, crypto is an interesting thing. It's an interesting vehicle for sure. $45.31. You see all this liquidity start to stack on higher here? They removed downside. They increased upside. CVD just flipped green. NASDAQ heavily. 45.40. Where's the dollar going? Unbelievable, man. Unreal. I'll tell you what, if this dollar retraces to 95, I'm going to start smashing the bids. I might be a long-term hold if this thing picks up steam. About 89 or 90 is about the main pivot for the dollar. I don't know if that thing will get down that far. That'd be an astronomical fall, but holy crap, if it gets close to 90, that'll be a fantastic swing right there. I'm in a short position currently holding losses on the NASDAQ. And you want to know what's happening. Very gutsy to hold short on NASDAQ, especially with names that are up over 4% and still going. I'll tell you my take. If I were to be short on NASDAQ, give me a second. If I were to be short on NASDAQ on that rollover and they just pounded this thing to new highs, which they just did, and stacking liquidity, I'd be out. Now, I don't know the timeline of your trade. If we're talking about a day trade, I'd be out. Long-term hold, as long as you got the capital, the time to short, if we're talking about multi-month holds, the time to short is at the highs. With that being said, you want to obviously make sure for a smart entry. So it all depends on your time frame. Because what happened here with NASDAQ is just like the S&P, they made a move lower. They started removing liquidity lower and they stacked higher. The whole market, the whole tech markets is outrageously green. My thought process is I don't want to step in front of a freight train. And right now, NASDAQ is a freight train. All right, 45.34. But this is what would concern me. Is my whole use for Bookmap is manage liquidity, and what we're seeing is them stacking liquidity higher on this move up. Especially what this looked like here is a little liquidity grab lower, grab some order flow, and then pop higher. Especially on such a strong candle like that. And here you go, popping back up. Inverti broke 450. Man, they came blasting today. Look at that. Outrageous. Tech's in breakout mode. I mean, today there's follow through. It's ridiculous. Meta's out 314. Even Meta is coming into that top target of 327. Amazon broke out. Apple's trying to, although they're the weakest of the bunch here. Let's see. I ran a poll on Twitter for long or short the banks tomorrow. 67%, 62% says long it. 37% says short. Short the banks. One more push up, and I'm going to start scaling out my additional 4,500 calls too. There we go. $45.34, nice little bounce there. NASDAQ is going for 15,680 on this little truck higher. What was your strike price? $1.55. $1.55. 44874 here. I have a SPY 448 call debit spread sold 452 calls tomorrow. You think I should hold? I would not hold anything unless you have the ability to manage or hedge your portfolio overnight. unless you're purely confident that the results of the banking industry is going to rally the market, which most likely will rally. I just don't know. It depends on your confidence level. However, I would say if you have no ability to close or hold or manage or anything, then I wouldn't hold it overnight, unless it's a longer dated call. If it's a if it's like a September October position, then yeah, hold it, whatever. If it's a short dated position, no. Oh, you said expiring tomorrow, so no, I would not hold that. My strategy is buying pullbacks with volume as volume signal. Do you think that's a good VPA? Absolutely. As long as you have volume as a signal, 100%. You're welcome. All right, man. Rocking out right here. Pretty boring day, though. Obviously, a couple of outliers. If you caught those, great. If not, the indexes are pretty boring today. Slow movement. Except for NASDAQ. NASDAQ's going nuts. But, I mean, heck, NASDAQ's almost 110 points. The S&P index, I should say. If you have to choose one big tech ER, which would bring NASDAQ temporarily down? Oh, man. I'd have to say NASDAQ or NVIDIA. I mean, if you want to go strictly by weighting, I would look for, Apple or Microsoft. If you want to look for momentum, I'd probably say NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA has been one of the biggest benefactors of the AI crap. And if something, and not to mention, you have to remember what happened to last year's earnings with NVIDIA. The CEO came out and kind of threw down the gauntlet, beat his chest a little bit, and said some crazy stuff. And if he doesn't even come close to what he talked about, then NVIDIA is gonna absolutely put a hole through the earth because it's gonna fall so hard. So that's the problem. It's like that saying, under promise, over deliver. Well, he over promised, and if he under delivers, it's going to be a significant drawdown for NVIDIA. It wasn't just AI that brought us up. It was the fact that dude came out and said 11 billion for the next quarter or something like that, something crazy for NVIDIA, which is great, grand, and wonderful if he hits. Good on him if he hits. But if he misses in a big way, then down we go. So I'd probably say NVIDIA. All those earnings reports it's more about the forward-looking guidance than more so than the actual numbers. I think we all know that. And he gave a crazy forward-looking guidance. That's why I say that. Nope. Unless you were in Google. That's it. Any idea what's going on with TLT? Yeah, let me take a look. We got a couple auctions here on TLT. They're again, this is a financial vehicle. It's going to be moving with the bonds, but it's something we've been tracking for a number of months. And here I'll show you this screenshot from my personal charts, and I'll put it on the screen here. Couldn't paste, the image is way too large. All right, cool. I'll make it smaller. So this is TLT's daily chart, and all it is between this 108 and 100 range. It's in back and forth. I've been watching it for many months, but it hasn't moved since November. It's just been here, bam, 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 bam. So I would love a little dip and rip, which that's what I'm looking for in a macro scale, and over the course of the next 12 to 18 months, I'm looking to go long, big time long on TLT. But right now, it's just kind of a watch and wait game. So I think they're just defending the high side. There's not really any major signs here until we have a major liquidity influx. I got out of playing SPY options, focusing on long-term holds. Do you have a list of long-term stuff you like? I do. Yeah. I've got my long-term holdings personally. Going to be allocating some new stuff. You're welcome. You're welcome. Alrighty. 45.34 ES here, just trying to trickle in. I think long-term holds is a great way to do it, whether it be options or stocks, whether it be just medium to long-term positioning or like actual long-term holds in terms of decades. It's the way to go. We were just talking about that this morning. Making money in the market is not all that difficult if that's what you're willing to do, but if you're going to sit here and trade every single day, it just makes it that much more difficult. Man, I'm watching this XRP thing. What the crap happened with that? Reckon we hit the micro in NASDAQ today. Looking like it. NASDAQ's been straight up since 1025. Just very, very slow straight up. Looking like it. Probably going to transact all of this, which is right there. So yeah, 15,680. Well, you know what's crazy? The NASDAQ is up 600 points since Wednesday's lows, Tuesday's lows. It's absolutely ridiculous. Just absolutely going. ES is 45.35. I feel like me getting calls is chasing what looks like this thing is going up more. I mean, it goes up every day. It's been, and see, look, they're starting to stack on even more liquidity higher and higher. They're running this guy. This is all side. This is going to pop 680. When I see this right here, when I see this right here, like this stuff being moved and they're chasing that thing, and then meanwhile they're stacked because you see this guy started down here, moved up, up, and up, and up, and they're starting to stack liquidity 675, 680, 685. Nasdaq is going to fill this 680 level. 680 is major resistance, yeah. Yep. How do you use the volume ledge? You mean like the volume profile? Volume profile is activity. That's historical. That's transacted liquidity, which is going to create weak buyers and sellers. They've been fighting legal battles since 2008. Yeah, XRP is going crazy. An absolute insanity. You want a little penny stock, there you go. I tried a lot of scalps today and didn't have a successful trade. You have been helping me manage my losses, and a bad trading day hasn't any big losses. Nice. Well, a day like today, well, it depends on the way you're looking at it. If you're a NASDAQ trader, long futures, take your hands off, let this thing eat up. If you're an ES trader, there's not really much to trade here. You could have had a couple of small little things here, but close-dated options wouldn't be all that great because the theta would take their toll. A futures trade wouldn't really pay all that much, maybe 6, 7 points, whatever. So the ES is not really it's hands off. NASDAQ is an early futures day. So other than that, man, there's been a couple of names here. JP Morgan put on a nice bounce. Tesla's put on a nice bounce from 270, now they're 275. Google's been straight up pretty much all day. But everything else has been just choppy. Microsoft flat, Amazon or Apple flat. Amazon has been flat. They're starting to retest highs. So, just play it by ear, man. Hands off. Fall off a cliff. Spry probably wants to hit the 450 level. Well, we got max gamma right up there. So, possibly. Which is not that far off at this point. I'm grasping at this point. What percentage of your single day trades are in the afternoon? Maybe 15%. What happens when Gamma comes over to visit? Well, hopefully she's bringing tendies. I know my grandmother did. Every time my grandmother came over, she brought me a crisp $100 bill. And then my dad took it and spent it on booze. Thanks, Dad. Does the NASDAQ have a stock you can trade like SPY? I'm sorry, I'm new to this. They've got the NDX. If you want to trade options on the NASDAQ like that, you can trade NDX. Now, be aware, if you go look at that, you're going to have a little sticker shock. You're going to need some cheddar. Do you use IBKR for overnight SPX? Yes, I do. You can trade SPX options throughout the night if you don't know that on SPX with IBKR. So I do that frequently to manage my iron condors, to put on trades, to hedge. Yep. Trader J ain't grasping you good. So you know what the S&P ES did yesterday that that no one's talking about? ES just hit 1,000 points from October. ES is up 1,000 points from October 2022 until yesterday. Such midday sell-off would be nice now. Would bring in some volatility. Well, this is the Nasdaq is even higher than the CPI rally. Stronger than the CPI rally. I only trade futures. Do you have any advice for holding winners longer? What time frame are you asking about? Like, for example, do you want to hold a position 6 months on futures? If you want a long-term hold, for example, let's theoretically speak. I don't want to hear, oh, OM's a bear. Let's say you are looking to build in to a 500-point sell-off on ES. Let's say you want to start shorting ES for a 500-point move down. And let's say you're right. Let's say over the next 3 months you get it. Well, obviously, you need to do some sort of speculating because there is some sort of analysis and looking for the top to come before rolling back over. So let's say, all right, well, you start to see the signs on Monday. Let's say we're green today, and Monday you start to see the signs. Your total position is going to be 5. Let's say you want to do 5 ES. I'm just making up a number here. I would scale into that position. So you take one trade. You short 1 ES. Market maybe consolidates for a couple of days, maybe even goes up another 30, 40 points. You do another one. And you start to scale in until a certain point. And at a certain point, you have to have a capital set aside of what you're going to risk for this trade. And that's your predefined risk, because you could set a stop loss based on your dollar amount, but you need to set a stop loss based on the capital you are willing to risk on the trade. And once you hit that, then of course you need to admit that you're wrong and close the position. So scaling into a trade is beautiful, dollar cost averaging for longer term positions. And then of course once you get the move, you need to have the hands strong enough, not be so manos de papel, where you can hold long enough to make that trade worth your while, the risk reward. Now, if that's too hot for you, then just think in terms of MES, and you need to predefine the dollar amount that you are willing to risk on the trade. Once I hit a $300 loss, I'm out, no matter what. And I'm wrong, I'll reevaluate. Because you can't be so arrogant to think that you're going to time trades perfectly. Very rarely do I get a trade that's timed perfectly and I immediately go green and stay green. Happens every now and then, but it's rare. You have to build in some slop. And that's what scaling into a longer term trade is. Now, if you're scalping, you don't really have time to scale into a trade. It's pretty much one and done. That's what makes scalping so difficult. Well, NASDAQ pushed to 15,673. Rolled over. Isn't it easier to dollar cost into a long when we ever see red days again? Yeah, tell me about it. Well, I was speaking theoretically, but. And then, of course, if you are looking for an uptrend, the other side of the coin is that you just scale in on every pullback. Every pullback. Man, look at that. Dang. Coin is up 100% in a month. 100% in a month. Jeez Louise. What do you think about prop firms? Double-edged sword. Use them properly and it's just another tool. If it helps you build capital, then use it. You're welcome, Abby. Where's my entry? I didn't take coin. I wish I would have. I didn't touch it. Coin's fake news? Interesting. For long-term investment perspective, do you think Meta is a great investment? I think there are better investments out there, but it's not something I do not hold it in my long-term port, so I'll tell you that. But you never know. It's obviously been it would have been a fantastic hold if you bought in December. Palantir is also up after nice up. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I was watching them too. I'm 18 with not a lot of money, but a couple years of trading experience. Do you think I should try to get funded or just trade $2,000? I have no problem with you trying to get funded, as long as you already have a system in place, and B, predefine, just like trading it for real, predefine the amount of money that you will allocate towards prop firm trading in terms of paying the fees and all that crap, and then get out. Because here's the deal. Prop firms have very aggressive rules on them. Doesn't matter which one, even the ones that I like, very aggressive rules. And it's not conducive to the new beginner learner. It's if you are an experienced trader, it's not that big of an issue. So I'll leave it at that. If you want to try it, I have no problem with it. Just there has to reach a point where you say, well, I need to learn how to trade before I do that crap. I've only tried 2: Apex, Dumpster Fire, and Top Step, which has treated me pretty well. Pretty well. I have no problem. I have no real problems with it. I think they're within the business of prop firms. I think they're fair. I did, yes. Struggling a little bit at this level now. $45.34. Try not to lap a top step. We'll have to do a 90% sale now. I hope not. Bookmap still does not show much downside on NASDAQ. No big liquidity. That's correct. They've got this little guy on now, but yeah, the big stuff is definitely higher. Now we are, like I said, the 15,680 was a big dog level. We came up to 673, and we're starting to see just a touch of weakness. Not much, but just watch this level. Right now, you're exactly right. There's not much pulled to the downside here yet. And ES is barely even moving. S&P is barely even moving. We got 3 minutes left on the stream. Let me know if you have any questions. I know today's been incredibly boring, but I've tried to kind of walk through my thoughts here. NASDAQ has been the play. If you caught some coin in Google, congratulations. Phenomenally large moves on those two names. Do you trade ES or Nasdaq more? I trade ES more. I do trade Nasdaq, but mostly ES. Thanks to your micros and Nasdaq, I worked it good today. Nice, Polly. Love it. Where do you see the pullback of the S&P for next bullish? I mean, we just had our pullback, so barring any kind of negative news for tomorrow's bank news, I mean, this thing's cleared hot for 45.83 on the S&P. I mean, we just had our pullback breakout, and we had a high volume move on what? June 28th to bounce off the bottom, head higher. We had the low volume breakthrough, continuation up today. So aside from, a small little retracement back down, I mean, skies are clear for 45.83. So, thanks, Paulie. Appreciate that. 15,670. All right, y'all, that's top of the hour right there. I'm going to have to drop it off right there, so hold on a second as I say that. Interesting. My volume alert just hit, and a price action alert just hit on UNH. All right, y'all. Tomorrow is the big day for banks. Keep an eye on that end of the week, right into 4,500, which is one of the higher GEX levels, so very interesting to approach this. Keep an eye on DXY, XLF, JP Morgan tomorrow. Hope you learned a little something today with a little choppy session on S&P. And I will see y'all next Thursday, 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time. And I'll see you then. I'm out. See you.